Warning, this video contains massive spoilers for the following content. If you do not wish to have anything spoiled for you, please stop the video now and come back when you're ready. Thank you. With all that said, let's get into it. Hello everybody, welcome to Cinema Review Avenue on the Queen City Circle channel. I am your host, Jacob. Hope you're all having a great day today. If not, hopefully this video will make it a little bit better. Joining me today are my co-host Lilith.
Disney puts it out, we suck it down.
Lance.
How's it going, y'all?
And Logan from the Sweo2 Twitch Gaming channel.
What it do, baby boo?
Glad to have you all here. Glad to continue to suck off the teat that is called Disney. Today we will be reviewing and discussing Marvel's What If, Episode 3, What If the World Lost Its Mightiest Heroes? Be sure to leave a like and subscribe and share with your friends. With all that said, let's get into it. Right off the bat, what if Marvel made a murder mystery directed by David Fincher? This one follows the story all the way back towards the beginning of the MCU's birth during Fury's big week, when the events of Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk, starring Edward Norton, if everybody forgot, wish I could, and Thor 1 takes place all at the same time. And the question is, what if somebody started completely murdering and killing off famous MCU characters like Iron Man, Thor, Hawkeye, Black Widow, The Incredible Hulk, Howard the Duck? I'm just joking. He's fine. We follow that storyline, and as we go on, these big name characters get killed off one by one, and the Avengers are pretty much taken out. Captain America is still in ice, and Nick Fury is going back and forth with the assistance of Black Widow, who is actually accused of killing Tony Stark, believe it or not, but Fury believes that she did not, are going around visiting the other members of the Avengers, the original 6, and trying to figure out who is killing them all. Well, lo and behold, Thor gets killed off by Hawkeye, and that ends up bringing Loki down, and he is now officially the Prince of Asgard. Well, he comes down, and he's like, well, you better have my killer, or I'm going to destroy your planet. And Nick Fury's like, I'll get him. I'll get him for you. Just give me some time. And we find out, spoilers, that it was the most unlikeliest person we would have imagined. Good old Hank Pym in the yellow jacket suit, killing all these Avengers because he despises S.H.I.E.L.D. and what S.H.I.E.L.D. did during, or it was what S.H.I.E.L.D. did using his daughter, Hope, in a mission and getting Hope killed. So now he's taking his revenge on Nick Fury personally by killing all his potential candidates of the Avengers Initiative that he found out by hacking into S.H.I.E.L.D.'s network. Well, with a little bit of help from a god of mischief, Loki disguises himself as Nick Fury and one-on-one combats Hank Pym, beats him to a pulp, sends him to prison, meets up with Nick Fury and is like, you know what? I like this world. I think I'll take it over, and there's no Avengers here to stop me. So Loki ends up becoming the leader of this world, and it leaves Nick Fury two options. Go find Captain America in the ice, and to call in one of the greatest heroes in the entire MCU.
All right, I'm out.
Carol Danvers.
You cannot like Captain Marvel as much as you want. But Captain Marvel is a good character. She's strong, she's powerful, she is a great character. Brie Larson's Captain Marvel was bad.
Fair.
But Captain Marvel as a character is good.
Agree.
How she was
This-
introduced to the MCU was kind of trash.
She is the Harley Quinn of this universe. Let's be honest.
No, she's not. She was just introduced at the wrong time. They shouldn't
That's
have
what I'm
brought
saying.
her until after Endgame, and all of the stuff that came in like the interviews after that made Brie Larson look like a not very likable person did not help the case.
I enjoyed her in
it's-
Endgame and what she did to Thanos' ship, but
like
she's
it was a cop-out.
way too overpowered. She has
I
no
feel like it was-
faults whatsoever, and her whole movie was pretty much the first episode of Marvel's What If. I'm awesome because I'm a girl, and
Well,
I can
what
do way better than any man. And I was like, that's not a character trait. I'm sorry. It's not. Do something else. Do something better. However, the plot in this one, I love a good murder mystery, and it felt too quick for me. The negative I would have to say about this plot is they killed off a lot of characters, like left, right, and they didn't really give you time to like feel that emotion. When they first killed off Tony Stark, I was like, oh, what happened? And then it just moved on, and I was surprised I wasn't more like, oh my gosh, they just killed Iron Man, or they just killed Thor. It was shocking, but it wasn't as emotional as I wanted it to be. But however, I thought this was like a brave episode to tackle a genre like this, and I quite enjoyed it. Marvel's What If, I don't know if I would say it's better than the second episode, but I'm liking what they are doing. I am liking what they're doing for this. I enjoyed the plot quite a lot. And top death scene in this entire episode, the award has to go to the Incredible Hulk, because that was shocking. He just blew up like a balloon, and it was like green mist, and thank God it was Mark Ruffalo, not Edward Norton. And I felt that one out of all the deaths. But yeah, that's my
You mean
mess.
you were
That's
you were excited it wasn't the best Hulk?
yeah, that would be Eric Bana.
Yes.
No, that movie is awful. It's pure trash. However, those are my thoughts on the plot. Lilith, would you like to take it from here?
Yeah, I have to agree. I love a good murder mystery. And it's just really unfortunate that this wasn't one. I didn't like it.
Really?
It felt a lot like a cartoon, like an early Saturday morning cartoon's take on a murder mystery. I wasn't really guessing who it was. And it's not that I knew who it was, it's just they didn't really give me a reason to care, right?
Mind you, this is Disney. Children watch this, so it's not like we can really get hardcore into murdering there. Keep that in mind.
Well, I'm not saying like it needed to be gory or it needed to be like long drawn out deaths. I'm just saying like I didn't feel any reason to have any investment in it. Like when they first, spoiler warnings, obviously. I don't know if we said that yet. Like when they first kill off Tony, I was like, oh, that's different. And then just was like, okay, next.
Yeah,
I didn't feel anything.
I agree.
And I know comparing this show to a more serialized franchise is definitely the wrong thing to do when it comes, because they can a serialized episodic show can cover the same topic over 12 episodes, like really drag it out and get you invested in it. But I do still feel compelled to compare this episode to Invincible season 1. And if you haven't
Yes.
watched it, 100% watch it. I'm going to try not to spoil anything that's outside of the first episode.
Are you saying that because in Invincible they end up like, spoilers, in Invincible they end up like killing off their version of Avengers?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's one of the things
the
that's leading me
first
to the
episode.
comparison. In the first episode, they kill off their version of the Justice League.
Yeah, but I didn't
And-
care about any of those characters.
No, but you cared about why. You cared about the reasoning and what was going on behind it that motivated it. And in this, I didn't get that feeling. I felt that they were empty deaths, and it seemed kind of boring. Um, I'll have more interesting things to say when we loop back around to the casting. This writing was significantly better than episode 1, but significantly worse than episode 2. Um, I just wasn't a fan. Like if they were all about this level of quality, I would still watch it just for the reason that we talk about these things. But outside of that, this series has been really hit or miss for me. 1 week it's great, and so far 2 weeks it's been not worth watching.
That's fair. Logan, do you share the same thoughts?
So yes and no. I like it. It was definitely a way of Disney to sit there and kind of drop something they haven't really done, like to do something that's kind of out of their wheelhouse with it. But I wish that this was like a couple episode miniseries within itself, because as Lily said, it moved way too fast. It moved absolutely way too fast in one episode, killing off all those people so fast. It is like we've seen each of the movies, you know, like the pivotal scenes in the movie, and they just clip between them real quick. And you had, as you know, this isn't the real Marvel universe, so is different multiverse of it. So you know, okay, hey, this isn't really happening to the characters that we've actually grown and had development with the whole time. But it's still one of those things like, oh my gosh, they were brave enough to actually kill off a character like that. That's what
If
I
I
like.
can interject,
Okay,
for 1 second. I'm sorry. I know I already had my talking stick, but
all good, all good.
I just thought of a better way
Play
to
by the
word this.
rules.
No. If it feels to me like they weren't confident enough in their story, and they knew that they had this one cool thing that they just really wanted to show the audience, which was killing off the Avengers, and they that's demonetized if I say that. They just got there. They just rushed to it. And they weren't confident enough in the rest of their story. So they just were hoping that you would ride the high of them killing off the Avengers.
I feel like it would have been a lot better if it would have been lengthened out. Just
Yeah, I mean that's what I said. I
like
did
have
the
like a part
emotional
1, 2,
impact.
3 kind of thing.
Yeah, this would be good as a mini series alone. But I
would agree with that.
For a 30-minute video, I thought it was an interesting story.
Yeah, it was a different take from Disney for sure. You know, whacking off their prime cast, I'd say.
Lance?
I'll be honest with
Whacking
you.
off?
I actually like this episode. It reminds me of the comic book series where you have different heroes, like what if Wolverine killed, you know, the Marvel universe off. There's like one about the Punisher doing it, Daredevil, a couple other heroes I think end up being a part of that line of work. So I liked it. I mean, there were times where it was a little quick. I'm like, I would have liked to have seen more story arc put into them killing off characters. I mean, every episode can't be perfect, so
Fair. Yeah, you know, I enjoyed it. I like the risk they took. Big time.
Definitely not as good as 2 so far, but I mean, still leaps and bounds better than episode 1, as we've all kind of agreed about.
Well, a highlight of this one, aside from the plot, is the voice acting. Really good in this one. They got a lot of returning characters and actors in it, and yes, I IMDb'd them all, so I didn't sound like an idiot like I did in the last video. But that is not Natasha Romanoff. Yeah, I could tell that right out the gate that was not Scarlett Johansson. Everybody else, I thought did a phenomenal job. I enjoyed the voice acting. It didn't take me out of it. I'm pretty sure the woman that voiced Black Widow is Lake Bell. And I thought she did fine, you know. I thought she did pretty good, but the fact that we had Michael Douglas, Samuel Jackson, Jeremy Renner, Mark Ruffalo, Clark Gregg, Phil Coulson himself, it was so good to see Phil Coulson back and not in a terrible, terrible spin-off show. I was so glad to have his jokes landed for me every single time. Even the bit where he talked about Thor's hair and he was like, he's got gorgeous hair. And Nick Fury's like, excuse me? He's like, accurate description. He's gorgeous, okay? You know, that's just how it is. I was like, that totally would have been me. But I enjoyed the voice acting. I thought it was good. I thought it was, they're getting better. Way better than the first one. The first one is just trash compared to these two, you know. I don't think it's as good as 2, but it's way better than 1. So, Lily, your thoughts on the voice acting?
So the voice acting, Clark Gregg, Agent Coulson. I love him. Not
You're
the same way I love Jeffrey Wright. Yeah.
Gonna make
Jeffrey
him
Wright.
jealous.
Call me, please.
No, after you said that, Jeffrey Wright's jealous.
But Clark Gregg, he is just maybe so not much him, but definitely Agent Coulson is such a lovable character. Like he's just a teddy bear of a murderer, and I love him. And so I was really excited to see him back in something a little more mainstream for Marvel, because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., while I watched it,
I didn't watch it at all.
It suffered the same issues as most other CW
It was
shows.
trash. Hey,
but I do love him.
Don't you dare talk crap about Supernatural.
And you know, I was just excited to see him back in like an MCU promoted project, because hopefully that means he might come back now that the timelines are opening up. Lake Bell as Natasha Romanov, I would argue that I would not have noticed how drastic she sounded different if we hadn't recently watched Black Widow. I think her voice was passable. I don't think it was perfect, but I do think it was passable. Jeremy Renner is back. Yeah, okay. Mark Ruffalo, the best Hulk. I'm not a huge fan of Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye. I'm not. I don't think it's great. I think he's a fine actor. He's a fine man.
Screw off.
I'm not attached to it.
I shouted in the theaters when Hawkeye showed back up in Civil War to save Wanda. I love him as Hawkeye.
I liked him as Ronin.
You're wrong. You're wrong. Okay? That's what I'm saying right now. You're just wrong.
Okay. And my original high school crush, Tom Hiddleston as Loki.
I think everyone has a crush on Tom Hiddleston. To be
there's literally no reason not to.
My wife has said she would leave me if there was a chance with Tom Hiddleston. So
I don't blame her. I don't blame her.
I would leave this podcast for him. Let's be 100% real with it.
The voice actor that they got for Iron Man was not a fan. I think it was worse. It was considerably worse than Romanov's voice actor. But I do think that comes down to Robert Downey Jr. really took Iron Man and made it his. You can't cast somebody else. You can't have somebody else voice him. Tony Stark is Robert Downey Jr. That's really all there is to that. Michael Douglas back as Hank Pym. Excited to see that. I think he's a great actor. He has a great voice. But I was looking everybody up on IMDb before we started filming this. And Stephanie Panicello, did you know she voiced Claire in Resident Evil 2? That's where, because I thought she sounded familiar.
The remake?
Yeah. Yeah, she voices Betty Ross in this.
I also did think she sounded familiar, but I would have never made that connection.
I could
Mick
not place it.
Wingert is
Yeah.
the one that does Tony Stark, and
Yeah.
He's in a lot of stuff too. Attack on Titan, Spider-Man Miles Morales.
did you honestly think he didn't do a good job as Stark? I thought he did
Look,
pretty well.
I don't think he did a like. It's not a terrible job, but it's just something that's so iconic.
You can
for
tell the difference
RDJ.
very,
And
very
it's just
obviously.
even when I go back and watch like the old animated Marvel movies and Marvel shows, like it just feels wrong to hear anybody other than Robert Downey Jr.
Downey Jr. Yeah. Yep.
And that's just a problem when you have one person play the same character for over 10 years. I mean, that's just how it goes. And then of
100%.
course we had Jeffrey Wright resuming as the Watchman, and man,
We Yep. Yes, we did. Speaking of Jeffrey Wright, Logan, I think you sound pretty close to Jeffrey Wright. However, how did you think everybody else sounded in this episode?
I don't agree with you in the slightest, but
I tried to be nice.
I get you. I appreciate the A for effort. But I liked everyone. As Lily said, you definitely can tell, Tony Stark's voice is not RDJ. And I was kind of upset at that, but I'm like, all right, well, we've already seen that this is how like some of the bigger actors in the MCU, we saw in the first one that it didn't have Chris Evans as Captain America or as Steve Rogers. So I think that might be a common thing. I've actually looked up there's going to be a decent amount of side characters and everything like that aren't going to be in this, as well as those couple main characters that aren't going to be at all in the What If series. But overall, I think they did very well with it. I think Lake Bell did a great job for Black Widow. Obviously, you could tell a difference, but I think it was done justice pretty well with it. I was so confused at first, but like I think, especially seeing all the emotion, because especially at the end, Pym, and like showing how distraught he was. Like I think that really sold the role of that outstanding. Like he actually was able to.
His performance was fantastic in the limited time he got.
100%. Like it pushed it through, and at first I actually didn't think Tom Hiddleston played Loki until like I listened to, because I had to watch the episode twice. But the second time you could tell. The first time it was like I was like, is that really Tom Hiddleston? But I think that everyone did a really, really great job overall.
Well,
It's all you.
Well,
I'll be honest with you. The voice acting was better in the first episode. Not as good as the second episode. I would have figured Black Widow in this episode, in my opinion, she took a more predominant role than some of the other characters.
Mhm.
I would have thought that they would have trying to think of her name. They would have used Scarlett Johansson to do the voice acting.
Well, Scarlett Johansson and Disney are not on talking terms right now.
the farthest thing from it.
I mean, realistically, this was filmed months ago.
Nobody.
So,
Nobody.
Okay.
other than a couple of people not
Don't be
being
that gal.
being assigned their regular,
Don't be that guy.
the regular actors, I thought they did a decent job. Guy who plays as Hank Pym, excellent. Michael Douglas, thank you. It was good to hear his voice again. I haven't seen him since the second Ant-Man movie. I always liked Hank Pym.
He was in Endgame. He was at the funeral.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in terms of, getting to see him play more of a predominant role, I thought was pretty good. This side of him, you kind of get to see, if you've ever read any of the comics, Hank Pym is not the nicest guy. Didn't he end up like abusing his wife and stuff?
Yeah, in the comics, he like abuses his wife. He's the one that makes Ultron, ultimately, and he's all around in the comics just a terrible, terrible human being. But they like corrected that as it went on. The movie versions, they have kind of the craziness about him,
But
like, he's way better written in the
he's
movies.
fairly tame.
I wonder if they'll do that with Reed Richards.
Like make him an a-hole.
Yeah, because he's canonically a bad person.
I don't know. You kind of saw some of that in this episode. He looked like, granted, that's his daughter. He's grieving about his daughter dying, and in his opinion, Shield not honoring her sacrifice. But at the same time, like, I mean, you could see it. Like, his eyes are all like bloodshot. His hair's distraught. I mean, he looks like he's just been through the ringer. So great acting on his. I mean, he played the role well. Yeah, that's my opinion on it.
Yeah. Overall, not the greatest episode. Definitely 2 so far is, I would say, is the best episode out of Marvel's What If. A lot of that goes to Chadwick Boseman, the other characters, the writing, just phenomenal. This one, way better than the first one, but I felt like I was interested in what they were going for, the story, the murder mystery, but I agree with like Lily and Logan that stretch this out. You know, if this was like a limited series in its own, like who's killing who, it would be much better. But overall, I enjoyed it. I had fun. I enjoyed the jokes. I didn't think they were misplaced. And I genuinely like the fact that, you know, seeing returning characters that we've known for a decade just get whacked off, as Logan says.
Yes.
And I enjoyed it. My rating for this episode would probably be a 6.5, 7 out of 10 overall. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I'm interested to see where Marvel's What If goes from here. I don't think it like took a major step down in order for me to be like, oh, okay, you guys really have no idea what you're doing behind the cameras here. I think they're still... The second episode feels just so out of place because it's so great, and we'll see. I am going to watch the rest of this series, and overall we'll just give it our final thoughts and everything. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. It was good to see everybody come back. Lilith?
So, in my final thoughts, the one thing I would like to point out is it seems like a recurring theme with who does and does not come back with their major roles are people who are done working for Marvel. For the most part. Not all, but for the most part. Which makes me wonder, does that mean Brie Larson won't be returning as Captain Marvel?
Did Brie Larson not voice Captain Marvel?
No, she did
It
not.
was
I mean,
Alexandra Daniels.
She was just
Yes.
too busy being annoying in interviews to show up.
Well, there was a lot of bad press about that. And Brie Larson and her Captain Marvel was definitely a victim of bad PR before the movie, during the movie, and after the movie, especially when the movie wasn't even that great.
She also, her acting range for Captain Marvel is like watching Plank from Ed, Ed and Eddie try to do a professional role.
We could also say that that's Carol Danvers too, because that's kind of who
I feel
Carol
like Plank could do
Danvers
better
is.
than her.
Whoa,
But at the end of the day,
that's
at the end of the
that's Woodist.
I do wonder if this means she's not returning, because I did hear some rumors about that months ago.
They're already
And-
making her next movie.
But is this one where they kill her off and replace her?
One can
Because
only
that's
hope.
entirely possible, because she did not have a great reception, and Marvel has announced that they are no longer doing multi-film contracted movies. So they can interchange actors now whenever they want. But back to this episode. I give it a 5 out of 10. It's not great. I'd watch it again if I had to. If the rest of the series are like this, that's serviceable. I'll continue to watch them, but I won't be really excited to watch them. It is fair to point out that I do have a bit of superhero fatigue from the Marvel franchise as a whole.
True.
But overall, 5 out
It's
of
good
10.
content.
It's okay.
No, I mean it's like good content for YouTube.
Us, yeah,
Yeah.
it's job security.
100%.
Thank you, Disney. Alrighty, 5 out of 10 from Lilith. We're gonna swing it on into Logan.
Overall, I'd have to give 6.5, 7. I'm gonna have to agree with Jake on that one. I'm really shocked that just looking over the IMDb, Jamie Alexander actually returned as Lady Sif.
Right, for such a small speaking role.
Like a one-liner.
And the fact that she showed up in the Loki show as well.
I feel like she's gonna have a bigger role coming soon.
I hope so. Like I love her as an actress. She's
because I was so disappointed she was not in Thor Ragnarok at all, and that was a lot of uproar. But I'm glad she's back. I hope she stays.
100%. But yeah, we don't have some of the big names, but they got down to that tiny level of having Lady Sif's actual actress, Jamie Alexander, do a one-liner, and like, hey, like I think that was outstanding that they were able to get that to keep true to it. But yeah, it'd definitely be higher if they would have stretched this out and actually let it play out a little bit more instead of quick cutting to like each character getting killed off, or as I said earlier, whacked off.
Whacked off.
All
right.
Both hands.
That brings us to the greatest final person in this room.
Okay.
Jeffrey Wright, what were your thoughts? I mean Lance, I'm sorry.
Lily would have been over there already.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I'll give it a 7. I'll be generous. I'll give it a 7. I was thinking between a 6 and a 7, but I'll bump it to a 7. You know, it's
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
it's beating the first one. It hands down, it beat the first one out.
100%.
Watching a rock swim beats the first one.
Yes. And we all know how great of swimmers rocks are.
Fantastic aquatic creatures.
Best pets ever.
Not as good as number 2. Number 2 was kind of right now it's the cream of the crop episode. Not gonna lie. But it was a good episode to hold you over. If you're more into the murder mystery kind of episode, on your ranking it'll probably be a little bit higher. But again, 7 out of 10. Final thoughts.
Alrighty, well, I think that wraps up our review and discussion of Marvel's What If Episode 3. We are excited to see interested is a better word, to see what the 4th episode will bring. So stay tuned, look out for it. Check our Twitter. We'll leave announcements when it's going to drop. And be sure to like and subscribe and share with your friends. And we will see you all in the next one. And we love you, Jeffrey Wright. We love you so much. Goodbye, everybody. Have a wonderful night.